lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and he missed the complete. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
England in December might entice visions of a Dickens-esque scene of snow and Christmas pudding. But it's not the smell of roasting chestnuts or the sound of carols being sung that you'll hear in the virtual world of iRacing. Instead, the old English countryside has the acrid scent of burning rubber, and the air is filled with the burble of idling engines. It's just the sort of Christmas a racer would want. And today, over 50 different racers will celebrate the off-season by going head-to-head here at Brands Hatch. It's time again for the SRF vRunoffs Big Grid Race, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth to deck the halls today is Adam Young. Behind the scenes, sipping on his hot cocoa, is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard, who is no doubt off shaking his presents to figure out what's inside them. Adam, while everyone's still out enjoying all of iRacing's newest toys, the SRF crew is enjoying 2 old stalwarts. Tell us about Brands Hatch.
Yeah. How about all that global rallycross stuff? Wow, that stuff's a ball. But yeah, taking a break from that, go ahead and look at some of the SRF stuff here at Brands Hatch here for today. Of course, if you're not familiar with Brands Hatch, it's one of Britain's premier racetracks. A lot of different series come here, including nowadays the British Touring Car Championship. Block Pain comes here, the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. They even race those trucks that they like to race over in Europe. They got those going on here at Brands Hatch occasionally. Of course, the circuit length is 2.301 miles or 3.703 kilometers. There's only 9 turns. And by the way, we're going to be going around here today for about 90 minutes and shouldn't be a pit stop or anything like that. But Joe, whoa, is it cold out there, and that is leading some very, very tricky track conditions.
Well, even though, baby, it's cold outside, it's nice and warm here in our booth, and it's even warmer inside the cockpit, which we're going to see what the view is like as we take a lap around here. All right, we're in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Brands Hatch. Coming up to Paddock Hill Bend, it's very tough to hit this apex with the curved braking and blind rise. But the danger isn't over, because once the car compresses at the bottom of the hill, there's a real risk of it bottoming out and causing you to lose control. Up next is Druids, which is one of the few opportunities to outbrake someone. Unfortunately, it's still got an incredibly short braking zone, despite being a hairpin. From out of there, you'll switch sides to try and line up the car for Graham Hill Bend. The AstroTurf on the exit is fair game, so carry your speed out of there to help your lap times. You'll get a short breather before Surtees, which presents some unique challenges. It's another curved braking zone, but it's also got a late apex with a curb you want to avoid hitting too hard. And on top of all that, the exit is a super steep climb that needs as much of your momentum as possible so that you're not left vulnerable over Pilgrim's Drop. This is the longest straight of the track, and your competitors will be eager to swing past you if you're slow. But just to complicate things, Hawthorne, which is at the end of this backstretch, has very little braking, so there's not much of a chance to outbrake someone. Now we've hit the back half of the course, where it's narrow, fast, and punishing. Westfield is all about just clipping that apex and making sure not to wash out too wide. You'll fly down through Dingledale, and then Sheen is another bend that needs the utmost precision. Too far in either direction, or simply too much speed, and this corner can end your day quickly. You get very little time before you're attacking Sterling's, and this time you do want to get greedy on the inside curbing, so use that banking to your advantage. Finally, you'll get to relax again for a brief moment on the trip to Clearways. There's another little rise that tends to make the car understeer if you don't tuck it right into the racing group. As you come off of there, straighten out the curve in the Brabham Straight to try and gain those last few hundredths. But hopefully, you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Brands Hatch. That should give you an idea of what it's like around this not terribly long track. So with 50 cars out there, 50 plus cars out there, we expect traffic to come into play as they're finding out here during qualifying. Now, we've had the vRunoffs, or at least some form of them, the SRF big grid races, I should say, on GSRC for quite a while. But we might have viewers who've never watched one of these races before, so why don't we familiarize you with the race details and what we're up against today. Obviously, being run in the Spec Racer 4, that community has organized this race for many, many seasons at this point. Now, the setup is open and the fuel is unrestricted. However, that detail doesn't mean much here because this car cannot take it has to start with a full tank of fuel. If you've ever driven the SRF, you know you cannot adjust that. The race length is 40 minutes. I know we said 90 a little bit earlier. That was an error on our part. Only a 40-minute race today. There are no full course cautions, as well as no fast repairs, and there is no incident cap. So honestly, Adam, today that means it's just going to be an all-out sprint race, and it's all about your raw pace.
It really is. And, you know, especially with 50 cars on the track, I mean, you know, you're going to need a little bit of shall I say, avoidance skills going on, especially in the first couple of turns of this thing, and then let the raw pace take over from there. But with the temperature out there here for today only being, pull that up here real quick, they've got it set down to about 68 degrees, obviously a little bit of a light fog going on too, so the 100% humidity is giving me that these tires, well, they're cold, and we're seeing a lot of problems because of that, especially early on when guys first get out there. So I think that's going to be the key. Avoid trouble first couple of laps, and then let your raw pace take over. But with this track like this, it's pretty difficult to pass here. So I think it's going to be a pretty interesting race.
In fact, the temperatures, because they try to mimic the real-life temperatures as well as they can in iRacing, can only go so cold since it's snowing and foggy out there in the real world at Brands Hatch today. That's why they've got the fog, and that's why they've got the temperatures down to 68 degrees. In fact, it is so cold, I know our director was very eager to show this, it seemed like, so I'm not sure if we can pull up a replay during warm-up. After we're going to finish this lap here on board Claudius Veed. Apparently it's so grippy, Adam, that you can in fact flip these cars because they've got just a little bit too much grip. I didn't know that this was possible in the SRF, but let's see if we can pull this up coming up into Druids. Here we go. If you want to watch this replay. This is the first time I've ever seen a spec racer get on its lid on its own.
Yeah, you know, it right there, it just hits the curb just right and just up and over. And, you know, and Fabian isn't the only one I've seen do that here in just the short time I've been able to be in the session and everything else. I mean, I've seen a couple of guys do that. So Druids in particular, we're going to have to watch out for that because especially when this race gets going, it's going to be pretty insane if we got 3 or 4 cars in the middle of the pack that try to go up and over on their own.
Yeah, especially on those early laps. Now, we've got some heavy hitters to watch out for, and you can see them mostly up at the top of the qualifying here in the final minutes of this 20-minute joint qualifying where all the cars take to the track. Coba Lopez, I know it has the A in there. Ade is his first name, but he prefers to go by Coba. He has won multiple times. So is Daniel Mannenkov, although it looks like Daniel will not be here today. He was expected to be here. A little bit sad it didn't show up. A name that you're familiar with, though, Adam. Iro Num. What do you think his chances are of translating his Skippy pace to the SRF?
Oh, Iro is one of those guys that you always got to watch out for. And right now he is qualified fourth here, at least provisionally. I know we still got a little bit under 2 minutes left in this session. But Euro he's fast in just about anything that you put him in. He's also one of those guys that he doesn't always qualify right at the top, but you get him going in race speed, he finds a way to make things happen. So I like me some Euro Num, so we'll see if he's able to start fourth or if he's going to end up getting passed over here in the last minute or so of the session.
If you watched last season, you might recognize the name Madden. John Madden, of course, won at Road America. And I'm curious to see if he'll be able to blitz the field once again. But we've got Fraser Williamson in here. He was looking very good in warm-up, and he's showing well as well here in the qualifying, sitting 6th currently. So we'll have to see how he does. He was racing yesterday in the much bigger brother of this car, the Radical.
You know, and this Radical and this, and I like watching these, you know, and I'll tell you that I never actually laid eyes on an SRF on my own, never actually seen one with my own eyes until last weekend at Circuit of the Americas. They had some out there for some of the Endurance League stuff that they were doing, so that was pretty cool to actually be able to watch one of those.
I haven't been able to watch one race, but I've been to car shows where they have them sitting out, and some sellers are trying to get people to buy one. I wish I could buy one. But,
right.
They look like a hell of a lot of fun. You were watching Bob Kern, the New Yorker, getting his laps in, currently sitting in 31st, which doesn't sound very good, but when you consider the fact that I think we've got about 53 cars currently in qualifying, 52, I believe, as one of our drivers has taken off and won't be taking part in the race. 50 of them have put lap times in. And the spread right now, Lopez sitting at a 38.3, the slowest at 45.9, so going to be quite a difference. But we got to go through our qualifying order as we have a lot to go through, starting with Lopez on the pole, followed by Dominic Brennan, in second, with John Madden starting row 2 and third. Ironome will be in fourth, followed by Claudius Veed in fifth. Fraser Williamson will finish row 3 in 6th, with row 4 starting with Clark Williams in 7th, and Mehdi Bukrani starting in 8th. Ronnie Dudek will be in 9th, and Carl Jansen rounds out our top 10.
Yeah, going to 11th position, we'll find David Streeter. Alongside him will be Rob Fears. Yannick Chauvin in 13th position. Antonio Reese in 14th. Stephen Elson in 15th position. Jason Perry finds himself in 16th. Jerry McGreevy, in 17th. Adam Bradshaw, 18th position. Gregor Thompson, 19th. Julian Chauvin in 20th position. And that'll round out your top 20.
Edward Doherty will start in 21st, with Francesco Bernardo in 22nd. Scott Edwards will be in 23rd when the green waves, with 24th having David Sanchez there. Then in P25, it's Fabian Bene, with George Vasmalaki in 26th. Stevie Ray, the organizer of this race, will start in 27th, almost smack dab in the middle of the field. Michael Shaw will start in 28th, followed by Flavio Saturnino in 29th, and Robert Plumley will round out your top 30.
Yeah, in 31st position here today, they'll find Bob Kern. Arn Stops in 32nd, Matt Cox in 33rd, Tim Seidel in 34th, Pepe Vasquez Martinez in 35th, Neil Sankowski in 36th position. 37th will be Felipe Chauvin, James King in 38th, Giannis Crisanlulu in 39th, Angelo Ferrano in 40th position.
41st will be Jess Coleman, with Francisco Monzon starting in 42nd. Cedric Gibrat will be in 43rd. Then P44, it's Dale Bennison. Brian Shanahan starts in 45th, followed by Gary Woolbolt in 46th. Tom Gradwell will be in 47th, and Matt Solblum in 48th. Then Sean Ambrose starting this race in 49th. And last car to put a lap in is Jeffrey Gambrell, who will start in 50th. We have 3 cars that did not put a lap in. Darren Reddick and Richard Valley, we believe, should start this race, and Abbas Laddick is a DNS today. And with that, cars are going to start gridding. It's always hard to tell who is going to be winning these, especially usually with the draft, but it isn't as big of a factor here today. So, Adam, I have to ask, who's your big pick?
Well, because I do so much of the Absolute Beginners League and everything else, I have to say Ironome, just because, well, I've seen him win so many races. Why not add another one to the list?
And just like the real-world big grid races they have in the Spec Racer 4s, they're going to start behind the pace car with a rolling start. Hopefully that should clear things up a little bit for them. We've seen the standing starts for these can be a little bit messy, although this series typically has a no passing rule up until a certain corner. We didn't get any information on that one for this race, so I'm not entirely sure if they're going to have that into effect. Regardless, that roof pace car should hopefully make it a little bit nicer into Paddock Hill Bend. Adam?
Yeah, we'll see, though. And maybe Paddock Hill Bend may not be as much of a problem as Druids on the start. I mean, once they get to Druids, and especially with some of the stuff that we were seeing there right at the beginning, it could get hairy pretty quick. So that'll be one area that we'll watch out for. But you're right. Hopefully with the rolling start, it'll spread them out just a touch.
One thing I think that will be a worry in corners such as Paddock Hill Bend and some of the faster turns is something called lift throttle oversteer, and it comes in huge waves in this car. And for our viewers who might not be as savvy with some of these terms with racing, what is lift throttle oversteer exactly, Adam?
Well, pretty much once you get off the gas the back end just all of a sudden it almost kind of loses its grip in a way and wants to, well, or gets too much grip depending on how you look at it, and really wants to try to pass the front end. So you end up turning almost too well, hence the oversteer part of the phrase. And with this car, it is a problem that once you get off the gas, it'll back end will try to pass the front end, especially in some high-speed corners, and especially today with it being cold.
So that's something where drivers who have been driving this car for a while and are very familiar with it will be able to counter that. But if they aren't as experienced, they might fall victim to it as their instincts tell them to lift when they shouldn't. So coming up here, up into Druids, you can see the field and just how big of a field. I guess we've taken away from the shot. I hope we can get a nice wide shot of as many cars as we can, just to give a sense of how big of a field 50 cars is, because it is tremendous. And you really, it's when you're at the back, Adam, you can't even see the front of the field.
No, you can't, and sometimes our computers can't either. So, you end up with, these large fields. I mean, sometimes we end up with fields like this in the Skip Barber and the Absolute Beginners League. And, those, of course, are standing starts and everything else. Sometimes you got chaos for the first couple laps. We're talking about the rolling start here, and hopefully we do some good with it. But it's always a spectacle to watch 40-plus cars really on these courses, and here today 50 to see them start a race. And the first couple corners will be something. I'll guarantee it. We'll see what kind of something, but it will be something.
Yeah, and as I said, it is a relatively short lap with as many cars as we have. We expect them to be lapping one another pretty soon throughout the race, even though it's only 40 minutes long. I know you're not Bill, but what do you think the over-under is on when cars are going to get lapped?
Lap 6. I'm going to go pretty quick because we'll have some damaged cars out there for the first couple laps, and they'll fall back into the clutches of the leaders pretty quick.
And there is about a 7-second difference between pole and the last car to put a time in, with them doing laps at about 138 to 140 if you're more average, like a driver like me. That doesn't sound too far off. All right, coming up to Clearways, and then out of Clark, Coba Lopez is going to have control of the field for at least the start. Can he control it for 40 minutes? He's waiting patiently for the green flag. The green flag is out. He gets a decent jump over Brennan. Brennan already has to worry about Madden to his inside. They're too wide up to Paddock Hill Bend as the cars behind them slot in there. So far, the top of the field nice and clean as they come over the crest, down into the valley and up into Druids. Are you seeing any problem farther back, Adam?
I haven't seen too much yet, but starting to see some bent fenders as these guys start to, the back half of the field really starts to get their way through Druids. Got a little tight, but I think everybody made it through okay.
It is a London traffic jam for at least half a mile.
Oh, got somebody around back here. Trying to find out who that is.
Might have to get back to it later when we get a clear picture. I see the car of Scott Edwards going slow, but we'll take a look at that once things have thinned themselves out a little bit. Over Pilgrim's Drop, we're coming up to Hawthorne Bend, and already we're starting to see Lopez streak away from Brennan in second, but then we got a train of cars: Madden, Noam, Williamson, and Veed. Up they go through Dingledale into Sheen. And now up into Sterling's. Heavy banking on this corner. Easy to spin the car. But everybody up at the top of the field at least is making it through nice and clean. Haven't really seen much drama elsewhere since that initial problem coming out of Graham Hill Bend.
I know in a lot of ways we have some of the best in the SRF here today, and I shouldn't be surprised that we've been able to get through the first 2 laps here relatively clean, but yet at the same time I kind of am. Now we got some bent up fenders out there, but no, I really don't think we've seen too much in the way of anybody falling out even yet. So so far so good.
A bit of a lockup there that we see behind John Madden as cars start to swap position. Veed was under attack from Jansen, who had to drop back into McCroney's clutches. No overtake between them, though, now as they come up towards Surtees.
You'll see a lot of these guys, especially in this car, using every little bit of racetrack they can here for today. Now, as the race goes along, wouldn't be surprised to see some of those sections, especially near those gravel chaps, because they're pushing it, especially through like maybe Paddock Hill Bend going through turn 1 with a lot of dirt on the racetrack. And it might happen relatively quickly, just kind of adding to the slickness of everything out there.
Look at this train of cars we've got behind Jason Perry. That's Streeter, Fears, Reese, Chauvin, and McAreevy all bottled up behind the Spider-Man machine as they hit the back of the course.
Doherty's way off track. Somehow he manages to bring it back on and only lose 1 position.
He was awful close to the Armco as well. It was a great job by Sanchez seeing that coming and getting out of his way as both of them continue on in 21st and 22nd.
And Euro Numb put him right in front of John Madden. He's going to 3rd.
Already he has lost ground on our 2 leaders, which have come together. Actually, the battle is on for the lead. Brennan on Lopez. Comes up right under his rear spoiler, looks to the inside briefly, but makes no attempt. Is he going to wait for Truids? He gets himself an excellent run. He closes up as the car compresses underneath him. Once again, though, he stays on the racing line.
Ooh, I have to think. I think that was close enough. There might have been considered some bump draft in there, but it's definitely putting the pressure on right now as the guys been going back through about 3rd on 4th. They're racing hard right now, and we can move Vield up, I believe, up another position.
Problem for Sanchez down in 34th, and he drops farther and farther down the order. He must have hit something. Here we go, looking at the replay. Coming through Paddock Hill Bend, he goes off, and the car bites right when he doesn't want it, and into the Armco he goes.
And that's significant enough damage there. He ain't going to have a choice probably but to come into the pits and at least take some repairs.
He's taking a tow, so this is probably his day over as we continue to watch this fight for the lead between Lopez and Brennan. Through Dingledale, up into Sheen they go. It was so difficult to get that corner just right. And you're seeing that Lopez is in 2nd. That is incorrect. That is because of the tow that Sanchez has taken. Of course, that'll switch around once they go past the start-finish line here in just a moment. Up through Clark. And these guys really getting themselves a nice gap away from Nome, which, from what we know of Nome, that's a good thing.
Yeah, you want as much room as you can between yourself and Nome, because Nome's one of those guys, too, that will come back up and surprise you at the tail end of races. I mean, not necessarily since we don't have any kind of pit stops or anything like that here today, but he, like Jurassic Park, life finds a way, Euro Numb finds a way.
Oh, he found a way to keep the car of Veed behind him. That was Janssen we saw go way off into the dirt behind them. There was also a swap positions between Veed and Madden, who got himself back past him. There's a lot of cars swapping positions through Paddock Hill Bend, but not losing time. They stayed about roughly 2.3 behind the pair of Brennan and Lopez in 2nd and 1st, respectively. Dropping a little bit farther back to 22nd, George Vasmalaki trying to hold off Fabian Bainey. He's looking to the inside, up into Hawthorne. Not a lot of braking into this bend, though, Adam.
No, not a lot at all. And you just kind of almost just lightly touch the brakes more than anything else and let the car do the work for you through there. But see somebody off up there.
Thompson, it looks like.
Yeah, that would be, I believe that would be Gregor Thompson. You try to let the car do the most work as you can for you, but at the same time, you got to be up on the wheel because we're seeing a lot of guys sliding around out here.
No, we got a big problem. Vasmalaki, we were just watching, and he did make contact. That was coming through. Oh, that was too wide, actually, with Bainey coming through Sheen. He gets tipped around, and then he gets hit by, I'm trying to figure out who that is. Looks like Pepe Martinez, who gets into him.
That's a tough break, and I think one of those contacts, too, might have been a little bit of netcode. I think he had him avoided, and just the netcode was what actually did the damage, so that's even kind of a double unfortunate status there, but battle for the lead continues. Oh,
we had a problem for Francesco Bernardo coming out of Paddock Hill Bend. Looks pretty close to what we saw before, except he didn't go as wide. As we watch this battle for the top drivers, this is still the fight for fourth between
Fraser Williams trying to make a play here to get back in the top 10, going to try to go around Clydesfield. He's going to make the pass.
Nicely done. I think that was facilitated by Claudius a little bit, as he may have lifted to let him through.
And we got side by side going back here with Carl Janssen and Clark Williams as well. A little bit of fender rubbing going on there. Clark Williams is going to go ahead and yield back the position to Carl Janssen.
Some brave moves being made around this circuit. So narrow around here, Adam.
And speaking of that, I mean, you just saw, I might just be able to catch a glimpse of it toward the back end of the screen there. Carl Janssen caught a curve wrong, and that really upset the car, but Clark Williams gave him the room. It really does get narrow pretty quick, especially when you're too wide. You're not going to be seeing a lot of crazy 3-wide passes or anything like that. I mean, we saw a little bit at the start, but you're not going to see anything like that during the race itself. And, well, why should you? We're kind of too spread out now, I think, to see that, but still some pretty tight racing. And that's the beauty about these things having fenders on them, is you can do a little bit of rubbing out there. You don't want to do too much, but you can do a little bit.
So we ride on board with Williams. He is on the ragged edge. He tries to save it. Somehow comes out the other end and hasn't lost touch with Janssen either, as those two continue their fight for 8th position up ahead of them. We did see a little bit of a puff of smoke as Mokrani, Williamson, and Veed try to take it as deep as they can into Druids. They are dropping off quickly from this battle for third between Madden and Nome.
So what did I say the over-under was? What did I give it, 5-6 laps?
6 laps, I believe you said?
6 laps. Well, at the very least, I think George Vazmalakis is on close to the same straight as the leaders. So not quite there. I don't think it's going to be lap 6, maybe lap 8. But
Fabian with some more problems, and he has more contact this time. It was from someone behind him. Flavio Saturnino gets into him, and then it's just a pileup as Bob Kern and the car of Robert Plumley stack into him.
Yeah, that right there is the definition of a chain reaction. Thankfully, a lot of those guys able to drive away. Fabian not being one of those, though. It's all 4 corners of his SRF binged up.
Going to watch from onboard Plumley. Just no time to react. And they're coming up and over the hill of the exit of Surtees here, which really requires you to be on the power. You don't want to lift. Oof. Painful to watch. Plumley is able to keep going, but he is now down into 29th, sadly.
Ooh, Steven Elson's around. He just got tagged by Antonio Reese. He is in the wall. Fraser Williamson also with problems right now, too.
Going to watch Williamson first here. As he comes down Paddock Hill Bend, yet another car bitten by the compression, it looks like. Yes, indeed. It looks like such a silly mistake because the car seems like it should be planted there, but I can tell you from my time working on the lap guide, Adam, it's almost unsavable if the car bottoms out in the wrong way there.
It really is, and I think going back to what I was talking about with Steven Ellison there, that happened up in 13th position, you know, kind of ahead of the Fraser Williamson thing, is I think what happened is kind of had the compression problem there going into Paddock Hill Bend, and Antonio Reese just had nowhere to go with it, and ended up getting the back of them and kind of finishing out the job. But after that little bit of contact there, Fraser Williamson has decided to call it a day.
There was a slow car. I think that was a car being lapped. I'm not exactly sure who that was, but he was being caught by the leaders, I'm pretty sure. In the meantime, one thing I'm noticing, Brennan has not been fighting Lopez. I think this is a strategic race that we're seeing from Dominic.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, just kind of sitting back there saving his equipment right now. It's, you know, tire wear will be a thing in these things in a 40-minute race, so why not? I mean, just keep on putting the pressure on him. Maybe he'll make a big mistake and take himself out of this thing. I mean, I know a day isn't that kind of driver, but hey, I think we've all succumbed to pressure at one point in our lives or the other. So, you know, just hang back, just be there, ready to take advantage, but don't push the issue.
I was trying to take a look to see what drivers had gained plenty of positions, get some hard chargers. I don't think it's the most, but Jason Oh, and Streeter looks like he is having some problems.
And that was Jerry McReevy around him as well. Oh, 3 wide.
Rarely works out well through Druids. Oh, the two of them just clattering off the course when they come into each other.
Yeah, just kind of like ran out of room. I think Jerry didn't like the 3 wide there, kind of got off the gas a little bit to give them some room, and then just kind of went from there.
Oh, and Jason Perry was trying to defend his position, but is losing multiple right now as more cars come together on the back half of the course. Antonio Rees slides into the Armco. Oh, that all kicked off coming into Hawthorne when Perry was under attack from, I'm trying to see who that was. Looks like Ronnie Dudek got to his inside. And then Rees just got caught up in the aftermath once Perry went off course and was trying to collect it.
So starting to see some of the guys in the top 10 start having problems. So, well, top 15 rather, and starting to see some big names like Antonio Rees. Already brought up Fraser Williamson dropping out of this race. Bernardo, David Gerardo as well. Sanchez dropping out. So these are names that people know that are finding themselves on the outside looking in right now.
That does seem to be a habit that we've seen in these SRF races, Adam, that the top drivers start off as a big pack, and then one by one they kind of just drop like flies.
It's just something that happens, I think. You know, you lose touch with the draft, and then all of a sudden you maybe get frustrated because of it, and you start losing positions like that. By the way, Gregor Thompson, running in 13th position, just had a little bit of a problem going back into Paddock Hill Bend. He was trying to take evasive action and lost control, ended up putting in the tires.
Ooh, you can see him limping that car, and now he's going to end it, it looks like. Another good feel-good story. James King did not join or do any practice in this combination until he joined in practice earlier today, just about an hour or so ago, and he's currently running in 31st after starting 38th right now, already coming up on, well, that's a lapped car. That's Darren Reddick he's going to go by.
Ooh, Yannick Chauvin coming out of 8th position. He did a half loop around, finding himself in a little bit of trouble once he got off the gas. In fact, actually almost looped it around fully, and he's going to lose a couple positions, fall outside the top 10 because of it.
Yeah, down to 14th now and being chased by David Streeter, who also had his own problems. Behind them, you start to see a battle erupt. Steven Elson, bad exit coming out of Clark. And it looks like Jerry McAreevy does not need asking twice. He slingshots himself around and has got 15th before they hit Paddock Hill Bend.
Yeah, and these guys are going to be up on Yannick here before too long, so Yannick doesn't need to make any more mistakes. By the way, Yannick finishing, I believe, in the top 5 the last two vRunoffs that we've done in the SRF. So him finding himself this far back now is not where he wants to be.
Well, I thought that McAreevy would have the spot, but Elson took it back, as we saw on screen, through Druids. So those two continuing to fight. If they do that too much, as we've got a car off, and that is Sean Ambrose, sadly.
And yes, that is our Sean Ambrose that is having that problem. Just so you know, just fair disclosure, but he is out there today, but not having the day he wants to have.
He's running 43rd, so not too bad. Looks like he's got a little bit of damage on the right front, though, so he has been in the wars as he gets lapped by Flavio Saturnino and Edward Doherty.
And I'm sure that's just because in that GSRC SRF, he decided to put headlights on the front of it, you know, in the paint. So, of course, if you're going to put headlights in the front of a car that has no headlights, you're going to ding them up. It just happens.
Well, you can blame Kevin Brown for those headlights. I'm just saying right now. Up at the top, I thought that Nam was going to start making inroads on Lopez because he had cut it down to about 1.8, 1.9 seconds, but that has not improved for a number of laps. He is being held off by Brennan and Lopez, who have changed positions, we should note. Not sure when we missed that.
Yeah, things did get pretty busy back there, but this is Nam's strategy. I mean, he's just going to bide his time back there. I mean, he's not pushing his car at all right now. As I say that, as he kind of slides around a little bit. So we'll see if we get into the back half of this race, what he does, particularly in the last 10 minutes or so of it. But that clock, I mean, it's amazing how fast 40 minutes will go by, though, and you got to be careful about that if that is indeed your strategy. But Brennan getting a little bit loose here. Looking at our leader, getting a little loose with a day, just ready to try to capitalize on it. In fact, I thought he was going to try to there for just a second, but he thought better of it.
And significantly for Nome behind them as we stay on this battle for the lead is that Madden has dropped off. He's about a second behind. Claudius Veed is about a second and a half behind him. And then Mokrani as well, about a half second back. So what was a pack of four fighting for that third position has very much split apart and allows Nome to focus ahead instead of behind. Meanwhile, looking at this battle for eighth, nice stuff on the back half of the course. Janssen trying to find his way around or between the two cars who bang sides of Williams and Dudek. They still stay ahead. Are we going to see three wide up into clearways? That's Perry behind both of them that is waiting to try and see if he can do anything as well. Dudek, barely holding on to the car as Janssen gets into the side of him. He's now got to run on Williams. Can he get 2 and 1 straight away? He runs out of speed as he waits patiently behind the car of Williams. They're now into Paddock Hill Bend, and the order is going to be Williams, Janssen, Dudek, Perry, 7th to 10th.
That's about as close as you can get right there without something happening. So good on all three of those guys for being able to stay out of each other for the most part, at least with no serious consequences. But back half of the top 10 is where you want to be if you want some racing right now.
Certainly has been intense up towards the front. Typically, we see these drivers in these vRunoff big grid races towards the front kind of wait patiently for the final few laps and then start to fight amongst one another. Not so here as we watch Perry, Dudek, Janssen, and Williams all duke it out. Now they've got a little bit of space between them.
Just somebody needs to get on the radio, though, and remind these guys that the Demolition Derby is after the race. just so they remember.
Looking a little bit farther down, and McAreevy in a nice little battle with Stevie Ray. They're heading into Hawthorne in 18th and 19th. Oh, Stevie Ray going a little bit off course.
Aaron Reddick just spun right in front of the leaders just a second ago in that petty blue STP machine. And that, I think, put up a good smoke screen for him. Probably scared him a little bit, but they're still Brendan and a day running 1-2.
We're going to watch the replay and see. Whoa! Wow, great view there from Lopez. Both of them just picking where the smoke is and going straight towards it, hoping that the car had already left the spot. These two have been joined at the hip since the start of the race. I don't believe Brennan has taken a win yet in the vRunoffs. Lopez has multiple times, though.
Day really locked into that draft right now. He's not able to gain on him, but I don't think it's not able to. I think he's really kind of letting off a little bit and just letting Dominic pull him around right now. And Day definitely feels like he has the car there. So I know we missed that pass for the lead a little bit ago. I'd have to think it was almost a mistake by Day that allowed Dominic to get around, because Day right now feels like he has the faster car. Going back, Edward Doherty with some problems.
Let's take a look at the replay and figure out what happened to Edward coming out of Graham Hill Bend here up towards Surtees. Way late braking for Saturnino. Or was there a mistake potentially from Doherty? His car was looking a little sideways. Maybe a little column A, little column B.
You know, that would fit the profile right there. I mean, it looked like he got a little bit of loose and a little bit of light braking between the two of them. So, yeah, I would say a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Good description. I've never heard that before.
I always remember it from the movie Aladdin, so, well, there's that. Anyways, Arn stops, sitting back in 20th, has himself a nice little fight with Flavio as well. Flavio not able to do anything coming through Sterling, and he drops off with a horrible exit off of that banked corner, which is going to deny him an opportunity into clearways. Meanwhile, back in 24th, we've also got ourselves a little bit of a fight. Neil Santowski overtaking Tim Seidel into that same corner.
only a couple of tenths of a second separating 24 through 26 right now with that Niels Santowski is up there. That's the orange and white car that you see.
Yannick Chauvin dropping many positions. He's down to 19th right now. He had a problem coming out of Paddock Hill Bend. Looks a lot like what we've been seeing on the exit of that corner.
Oh, and here in a second, we've got to go back up front. Okay, never mind. It broke off a little bit.
Always tough to figure out where attention needs to go when we watch a vRunoffs Big Grid race as we come back live on our two leaders who are still within 0.2 of one another. I don't think I've seen them farther apart than 0.3 for at least most of this race. What
happened a second ago is that Dominic had to take evasive action to get around the slow car of Richard Valley just a moment ago, and that allowed Ade to get alongside of him. And they had a race for a second, but Ade not able to get the upper hand, so back running nose to tail.
Interesting to note, Nam is dropping off multiple tenths. I'm looking at his lap times here to see if he is just keeping pace and they're pulling away, or if he's losing pace on them. Oh, and Veed coming once again out of Paddock Hill Bend.
Yeah, and I think with Claudius right there, I don't think that was so much the off throttle oversteer as his I think his rear tire caught the gravel just a touch, and whoop! And that car in front of him, I believe, was the slower car, Richard Valley. So he probably, in a combination of catching the gravel, probably also was worried about running into the back of the slower vehicle right there. So didn't lose too many spots, but still maybe more of a hurt to the pride a little bit of Claudius Veed.
Always a little painful to know it shows up on the broadcast and gets replayed as we watch this fight between Janssen and Dudek. Perry in there as well. We saw this four-way battle much earlier in the broadcast. Dudek with a great run coming up on the back of Janssen as they approach Hawthorne. Going to try to go the long way around, but Janssen is going to deny him. Carries the speed beautifully. Dudek has to back off, and now Jason Perry closes in, but there's just no place to go through the back half of the course.
And see, and this is the tightest part of the course. Running nose to tail right here, probably not the worst idea. And by the way, we were talking about Num running in third just a few minutes ago. He had dropped a full second when we were talking about just a couple of tenths there, Joe. He had dropped a full second, but here in the last little bit, he's been able to kind of claw back another couple of tenths of a second out of that. So he's got some pace, but, you know, dropping back that much 14 minutes ago, he might be running out of time.
It's going to be very hard to try and make progress. That battle for 7th still not over because Dudek is trying it again. And once again, the long way around, he makes contact with Janssen. He catches it. Both cars behind avoid him with beautiful catches of their own slides. And Dudek slots back to 10th. My goodness.
How?
I do not know, but great job by both Perry and Williams to avoid that tangled web. Let's watch that replay one more time. There's the contact. Both of them see it coming. They move to the inside. Williams really had that tail hanging out. So in all of this, Janssen holds on to his 7th place. Perry gets promoted to 8th, Williams to 9th, and Dudek, the 666, is demoted to 10th. This also brings Julian Chauvin up into the mix, who's got a battle going on with Rob Fears behind them. You can see those two very tightly packed. Just no place to hide around this course. If someone ahead of you makes a mistake, you're going to be on top of them. And if you make a mistake, you're going to be pounced on by multiple cars hungry for positions.
Oh, okay. So we got to go back a little bit. While he was running in 28th, almost about a full lap. But James King ended up just getting clobbered a minute ago. Well, actually, he's the one doing the clobbering. Darren Reddick, who is the car that spun in front of the leaders a couple minutes ago, ended up half looping it again, and James King had nowhere to go and just destroyed Darren Reddick's car. But I know James King was one of our hard chargers earlier, and unfortunately, that's going to damage his car pretty well.
Sad to see after James was putting on a pretty good performance for having very little practice out there today.
Yeah, and his car looks clean now because he did come in, I think, and go ahead and take his fast repairs. So, but that did force him into the pits there and cost him a few spots.
And a quick correction, I think we may have said that there were no fast repairs according to the graphic. And we do have 2 fast repairs today. As we watch this fight for the lead continue on again, they say second and third, but they are in first and second. Arnie Stops is the next car to have to retire and take his car to the pits. Still making time on vRunoffs. It is now
up. Richard Valley spins in front of Williams and all them. We all are able to avoid him.
39th he's in right now. That was coming up through Sheen.
37th position he did.
There's George Vasmalaki and Carl Jansen, who was beside them coming up into a corner that really is not a too wide corner. As we see Jansen now live. Here we go. We're looking at the replay now. Ooh, great job by everybody to avoid disaster there. Come back live.
Right now, Williams and Jason Perry were running side by side and had to take evasive action. And Julian Chauvin, more trouble for Julian. He is in the wall again. That looks like some of the off-throttle oversteer. And he was running an 11th at the time and backs it into the Armco.
Yeah, and this is horribly sad to see because he started 20th. He was up to 11th, as you said. He was making fantastic progress despite having a problem earlier. He is able to continue on, but has now slipped down to 13th. I'm not sure that they're actually lifting there down at the bottom. I think that's just the compression bottoming the car out. They should be flat out coming off the exit right down there at the bottom of the valley.
It should be. What I'm wondering what's happening is, in addition to the compression, is that when they feel the car getting loose like that and it kind of starts to snap, I'm wondering if in addition to that, out of instinct, they're lifting off the gas at the same time, which of course with that other problem that we mentioned earlier too, is just going to compound the issue. As far as, you know, the whole 2 wrongs don't make a right thing. That's just my idea of what might be happening with some of that problem there out of Paddock Hill.
Could certainly be the case. So we watch Saturnino running in 18th right now. And McAreevy just had a problem in front of him. That was coming out of Sheen. He gets the car going once again. I think he may have made contact with the wall, though. Oh, looks like he did not. Let's watch on the replay. Oof, he gets incredibly lucky. We might want an onboard from Stevie Ray. Here you're going to see as those two somehow sneak by. We go riding just on the nose of the Texas driver. Blind corner. So he's not going to see this coming here, Adam.
No, he's not. And I know Steve Ray, some of the Texas guys had lunch the other day. Steve Ray was really excited about this, and I think he kind of maybe lost a little bit of excitement there for just a second as his heart skipped a beat.
He certainly lost something, I'm sure, in the cockpit, but he
That's
is
why
running.
They wear driver's suits, Joe.
Yes, exactly. Easy to wash. Steve is running 16th. He's doing a fantastic job out there. Having started in 27th position, that is a lot of spots gained. Meanwhile, our leaders are coming up on more lap traffic, and I think it's a fight. It's between Ambrose and King. Oh, no, that is not for position. King was just lapping Ambrose. But it's starting to get a little bit thicker between the lapped cars for these two. Oh, as we're seeing right now.
Split them.
And Brennan has to go way to the outside. Was not expecting Sean to try and take that far out, and that gives a huge advantage to Lopez.
That very well might have been the race right there. we'll have to see now just how much faster Brennan is. There was a car off back there, though. That was Michael Shaw. But that changes things big time there.
And I almost bet you that Ambrose is beating himself up inside that cockpit. He does not like to.
Yeah, you know, Sean isn't that kind of guy, but I don't think he, you know, I don't think even I would have been expecting them to necessarily split me right there the way they were. But I think that was Dominic, you know, not you know, kind of making a choice and ended up being the wrong one. Yeah. But either way, Ade moves into the lead. Now Dominic's got some work to do. Let's watch, see how hard he pushes his car the next little bit. And Ade, he's really got to be up on it mistake-free from here on out.
And has to watch out for traffic as he puts a lap on the car of James King.
Yeah, let's ride along here a little bit with Ade too, and just see how much traffic is right in front of him. Is they're everywhere. He just went by 3 or 4 cars right there.
Lopez now reeling along James King, who's caught his toe and is just going to try and ride his coattails for a little while.
All right, so you get an idea here of on Dominic is that's Tom Bradwell running in 28th position, runs a little bit of wide, gives him room. The catch here is that now Dominic's not catching some of these slower cars, and as advantageous of a position as what Ade did, is he's really only got one between him and Ade now, that being the car of James King. But still, he's got to pick through him. He's got to try to do it at the right times.
He's got about 2 seconds to make up on Lopez. Noam only 1.3 back and actually gaining. Noam can definitely see him. He's only got the car of Tom Gradwell between them, and he is going to dispense with him now. This is just going to urge the Roland Estonian on as he's, oh, wow, he's cut it down to 1 second. He is pushing now.
Oh, and Dominic catching Gary Wolbalt on the outside of a corner. That was almost bad.
Gary staying out of the way, letting them all through. Noam now down to 9/10. Oh, we got a car spun in front of them. Both of them managed to avoid the car of Darren Reddick. Noam able to pick the right side at the last second. Let's watch on board as he comes up over the blind crest of Sheen.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're going to see a white smoke and a bunch of blue car.
Wow.
And a little bit of grass cutting going on there, but Euronum's able to get by and still also during the process still gain a time on Dominic Brennan. And now you know, Euronum is right behind James King, who I believe are teammates there for Bushfink. So I would be looking for James King to maybe kind of let Euro by here, but Dominic Brennan just does not seem as fast as what he was earlier on.
Driver's been making progress is Flavio Saturnino, but he's looking a little bit on the ragged edge.
Hold on. Ade is really falling back. Ade has some damage.
Did he make contact with a lapped car somewhere? I'm looking through to see if I can find it.
It was Darren. It was Darren Reddick when he spun there a little bit ago. Our leader Ade caught him just a little bit, just enough to ding up his front, but he is now falling back in the clutches of Dominic Brennan. Folks, the battle's back on for 1 and 2 with your leader having a damaged race car.
This is going to be a slam dunk. He is slow in a straight line, and Brennan closing fast. This is going to change everything. Brennan could easily take it away if he can just make a clean overtake. He's waiting patiently behind Lopez, not wanting to push the issue for now. This could be where it happens coming out of Sterling. You've got a bit of a stretch before clearways. Still not fast enough, as now they come up over the rise of Clark. Gets himself a fantastic exit. Oh, but he gets balked. Lopez tries to cover off the inside a little bit too late. Brennan has to lift.
Lap cars are not going to be an issue for these guys for a little bit. They can race hard.
And you know what this is doing? Here comes Euronum now. It's down to 4/10. It is a three-way fight for the lead. How long can David hold off Goliath? Lopez in a limping car. And here comes Noam coming around the outside of Druids. Fighting hard, has to take to to the AstroTurf to try and get his way past. Brennan just can't find his way through as Lopez makes that SRF as wide as he possibly can. 3 minutes to go on the clock, Adam, and what looked like it was going to be a done deal for Lopez has flipped upside down.
Oh, Ade is driving in his mirrors right now, but it might not be enough. There goes Dominic. He might be able to clear him here. Ade still has the inside. Dominic able to carry around the momentum on the outside. He's going to take the lead. Now, the question is how long is it going to take Euro to get around him, and can Dominic take advantage and stretch it out here a little bit?
Oh, this is critical for Gnome. He wanted to get by coming out of Hawthorne, but he just did not have the speed already. A little bit of a gap being pulled by Brennan. This is critical. They now come to Sterling's, and Gnome has got to get it done now. Swinging wide, Lopez makes a mistake. This could hand it over on a silver platter, but it might be too late. He lifts and lets him through. Gnome now going to try and chase down Dominic Brennan with just 2 laps to go.
These guys have been going out there now hard for 40 minutes almost. Those tires, well, I don't think the cool track is a problem now. Euro Num could push that car to its absolute limit, find the limit, and try to get to Dominic, but might be a little bit too late here. I think it took him just a touch too long to get around today.
Madden is a whole 7.5 seconds behind this battle. He is no worry back there in 4th. It is down to these 3, and effectively, really, 2 of them, unless both Brennan and Gnome come together. Oh, and Gnome is really pushing as he takes it all the way off into the grass.
Once again, just looking at where the nearest lap car is, not going to be a factor for a while. So Gnome, if he's going to do anything, he's probably going to have to do it completely on his own here.
I think the Estonian is overdriving the car. He slid it coming into Surtees. It is about a second back from Dominic Brennan. It is looking like the UK&I driver might be able to take this one home for what we believe is going to be his first vRunoffs win. Up to Sheen and over the blind crest into Sterling. It's holding steady at that 1 second gap between the number 78 and the 212. The white flag is out and hanging, ready to wave for Dominic Brennan. He's waited so patiently for much of this race. He took the lead when he had the opportunity, and then it went away with traffic, only to come back at him with completely fortuitous events that he could not have predicted. White flag is out, up through Paddock Hill Bend, 1 lap to go, and he stretches it to 1.2 seconds now, turns the afterburners on.
They are going to catch the lap car of Matt Slobum here before the end of this lap, actually in the next few corners. So we'll see if that impacts anything, but that is a wide gap back to Euro Num there. Something drastic is going to happen for Euro Num to catch him. I think we can hand this to Dominic Brad here in just a moment.
I would not put anything past this race at this point. I thought it was a done deal about 15 minutes ago. As we ride on board with Matt's, looking at our leader coming up, he's going to catch him at a perfect place. All he has to do is lift. Let's see if he does that. Yes, he does. A nice job facilitating it for our overall leader. There goes Dominic Brennan, putting 1 more car between himself and Euro Num. It is now stretched to 1.5 seconds between 1st and 2nd position.
I think Euro Num's let off a little bit. He has just said, I'm going to finish where I'm going to finish. I don't want to trash the car.
Up and over Sheen 1 last time. Nice and smooth for the UK&I driver. Going to be a home race for him and a home race win. With 1 more corner to go, all he has to do is execute it with even a little bit of margin of error so that he doesn't throw it away. And he does it perfectly. Coming up the Brabham Straight to the start-finish line, Dominic Brenner is going to be your winner in 2018 Season 1 of the vRunoffs Big Grid Race. Oh, and Ronnie Dudek with a late race accident has to wait to get back onto the course. That's going to send him down multiple positions. Euro Num did take 2nd, and Lopez managed to salvage a 3rd. Let's watch what happened to Dudek. Oh, both him and the car ahead, way off. Not sure who that was.
Almost looked like a little bit of target fixation there, just kind of helped carry him off into the grass.
See if we can find a battle later on in the pack. I see that Streeter in a nice fight trying to hold off Chauvin. I think he's going to manage it. Behind them, Stevie Ray in a much closer fight as they come up to Sterling. So they're going to be side by side. That's Ray and Plumley. Plumley with a much better exit. And look at Stevie Ray. Is he going to lose positions, or are these lapped cars? These are lapped cars that he's letting through. Oh, but no, Matt Cox does take a position over him. Nice. Oh, and Evans, what happened to Stevie Ray in the final few corners, giving away 2 spots and two positions in 2 corners? Let's see. Our last car on the lead lap, I believe, is Bob Kern, who's coming across the line now. That's going to complete our race. We're going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away. And on the screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to Brands Hatch. We just saw the 2018 Season 1 race of the SRF vRunoffs Big Grid. And in the end, we watched Dominic Brennan come away with a late race streak that allowed him to get it by 1.3 seconds at the line. vRunoffs did his best to try and chase him down, but unfortunately his attempts to try and overtake Copa Lopez in the final laps hurt him too much to try and stay within the draft. Lopez, of course, rounds out our podium. He was one of those who we thought was going to win, but late race damage sent him backwards. John Madden never really was in the mix for the win, but at least held himself up for a nice top 5. He finishes 4th. Mehdi Mokranian is another one we didn't get to cover a lot, but again, finishes 5th. Claudius Veed, he had his problems, but still recovers for a 6th place. How about Jason Perry? He started in 16th, climbs his way like Spider-Man all the way to 7th. Kari Jansen was behind him in 8th, with Rob Veers finishing 9th, and Steven Nelson rounding out our top 10, Adam.
Yeah, and let's not forget, the real winner here is the winner of the Demo Derby that's going on right now in turns 1 and 2. Just saying. Anyway, 11th position coming home to Clark Williams here for today. Another guy that ran into some problems, but was able to kind of bring it back, and just heartbreak for Ronnie Dudek there at the end of that race, losing no number of spots. David Streeter coming home in 13th. Julian Chauvin, another guy that had some problems, but was able to recover. Yannick Chauvin as well, finishing in 15th. Jerry McGreevy coming home in 16th position. 17th, Flavio Saturino, and 18th position, Robert Plumey, Matt Cox, 19th, and Scott Edwards in 20th.
21st, he climbed so many spots, but then he gave away a bunch at the end. Stevie Ray finishes in 21st position. Neil Santowski finishes in 22nd, with Jess Coleman in 23rd. Bob Kern was behind him in 24th, and the last car on the lead lap I'm seeing is Gianni Christodoulou in 25th. Not bad, half the field on the lead lap. James King finishes in 26th, with Michael Shaw in 27th. Philippe Chauvin could have had a better race, but he winds up in 28th. He still climbed a bunch of spots, though. Tom Gradwell finishes in 29th, and Cedric Gabrat is in 30th.
Yeah, how about that? Half our cars today finishing still on the lead lap. Coming home in 31st position here this afternoon is going to go to Fabian Bien, Francisco Velasquez Monzon coming home 32nd. Dale Benison, 33rd. Arn Stops, his day ended roughly, or at least a rough part of the end of the race there. 34th position, Brian Shanahan, 35th. Tim Seidel, 36th. Matt Sablom in 37th. Richard Valley, he had a rough day. 38th position. Our own Sean Ambrose coming home in 39th. Jeffrey Gambrell in 40th.
Hold on, we're not done with the novel yet. It's Gary Wolbolt finishing in 41st, with Darren Reddick in 42nd. George Vasmolaki in 43rd. Edward Doherty, he had a bad wreck, and that puts him in 44th at the end. Greg Thompson behind him in 45th. Antonio Reese, these are cars that pretty much all DNF'd from here. 46th. Fraser Williamson 47th, and Francesco Bernardo in 48th. Pepe Martinez finished in 49th. Angelo Fiorino in 50th. David Sanchez in 51st, and Adam Bradshaw, Abbas Laddick are both did not starts. So as we look to see who is ready for an interview, right now we only have one of them after 50 cars racing. Think we'd have more guys, but let's pull in Eero Num anyways and talk to him about his race and his eventual finish in second position. Eero, it seemed like early on you got a little bit caught up in that pack, and then we're trying to have to work hard to chase down those leaders. Did you feel like you had pace to eventually get them before the end, or do you think you wouldn't have caught them without their mistakes?
In the beginning, in the chase, in the first half, I think I had pace, but then my hands started to hurt so bad, so I was losing in the mid-race, so if they did make no mistakes, then there was no chance.
And then, of course, we had that problem for Lopez where he got some damage and found himself slow on pace. That allowed Brennan to catch him and try and pass. When you found yourself caught behind Lopez, did you want to try and make the pass immediately? Were you looking for it, or were you trying to play patient so that you could save the car?
It was so in the edge, driving this car, so I rather took it safe when I caught them and tried to do my best to stay on the track.
Speaking of the car being on edge, we saw coming out of the first corner, Paddock Hill Bend, that it seemed like a lot of drivers spun it on the exit and sent it into the barriers. Were you finding the car was bottoming out, or was that a different problem that was causing the loss of control we kept seeing?
Because there is so much grip, I think the problem was the curb has more grip, and just that was the problem. But you had to hit the curb right way, so I think they were lent too wide.
we've seen you win a lot of races over in a couple other series that we cover here on the GSRC. I don't believe we've seen you win the vRunoffs SRF Big Grid race yet. Is that correct?
No, I think this is my second time finishing second, so not yet.
You think that one's going to come? Do you think this car, you've got enough experience in this car now to finally take it one more step?
The experience is every 13 weeks, so not much.
All right. Adam, do you have any questions for Eero before we let him go?
Hey, Eero, real quick. We always see it a lot in the Absolute Beginners League, particularly Skip Barber Series, obviously very different cars. I got to ask, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the Skip Barber, or do you like the extra power in the SRF?
I like the Skip Barber. It's much easier.
There you have it.
All right, that was Eero Nam, our second place finisher here in the SRF Big Grid race. And up next, it sounds like we've got a quick interview with Sean Ambrose, and I have to try and dig him out to figure out where he finished in the order. But let's pull him in and talk to him about his race. And first thing we probably need to tell to Sean is to not beat yourself up too much about what happened with the leaders. Both Adam and I thought that you did nothing wrong in the situation.
You know what? There were so many darn cars all over that track. It's like one moment I'm racing with, guys that are at the back of the field. The next moment I look up and boom, the leaders are right on me. And, oh my God, my heart sunk in my stomach and I'm just scrambling to do everything I can. Joe, this racing thing, I'm starting to think maybe it's not for me. Spotting, crew chiefing, and being there in the booth with you guys is an awful lot of fun. But look at that poor car. Oh my word.
I did say it was because the headlights were painted on it.
That was just an adventure, man. I'm still just reeling. Like I said to the guys in the chat, I'm sorry that I made so many close calls for guys out there. I feel like I was a moving chicane.
I'll agree. What you said is there really wasn't too much you could do, but hey, you finished. There were definitely a number of guys that finished behind you. I mean, I think you had some less trouble than some other guys out there. So overall, though, you did bring the car home, and at the end of the day, in a 50-car race, I mean, what else can you expect?
You know what, Adam? That was my absolute goal, was just to finish this race and do it with most of the panels still on the car. It looks like we kept them all on there, maybe a little bit of damage on the right front, but I will take it. And thank Steve Ray and the rest of the guys here for letting me run with them today. Again, I'm sorry, my best Canadian there, but that was an awful lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
See, this is why you paint the car out of wood. That way you could just, screw another panel on instead of replacing fiberglass.
Are you saying Riding Shotgun has an opening?
Hey, come on by.
Well, you've seen it from both sides, Sean, both as a driver and as a commentator. So if you had to pick a track for the next Big Grid race, which one would you want?
Honestly, because I saw them live and in person there last weekend, give me Coda.
How did I know that was going to be?
They were awful fun to watch at Coda, so I would not mind seeing a Big Grid race there. And trust me, you can definitely get 60 on that track without a problem.
Well, I think our director is trying to cue us out here, saying thanks for coming and talking to us, Sean, and commiserations on the problems today. But we want to give a big thank you to Stevie Ray for organizing this race every season, and thank him for coming and broadcasting with us once again. We love getting to call these. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts are listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Amjad, Adam, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out and mark them down on your calendar right next to Christmas and Boxing Day and New Year's Eve, because we'll have lots for you here in December. It's not, there's no off season here for sim racing. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.